Well, I think the winner is both sides realize this had to happen. I mean, I think you look at either side and you wonder, what are the options? When you make a decision, you always have to figure out what's the alternative. And I think we know from the Eagles' point of view, maybe even more than from Bradford's point of view, what the alternative was. I mean, the Eagles' alternative was a rookie, Chase Daniel, Mark Sanchez. I mean, I think your listeners can sort of nod their head like, yeah, we had to get Bradford. I mean, that's really the only option that the Eagles had.
Well, is it then surprising, Andrew, that Bradford didn't wait another week or two to see if some other things? I was a little surprised that once they didn't tag him, that he didn't at least wait to the 7th to see the legal tampering period, which they probably are tampering anyway. But I was a little surprised that he caved in and didn't at least see if there were any better offers for him out there.
Well, a couple things. I think Tom Condon is skilled enough to know what is or isn't out there, and you sort of look at the teams that need quarterbacks, and you pretty much have to wonder if any of them would have targeted Sam Bradford. They are the Rams, who he came from. That's not happening. The Browns, who obviously are going to take a guy at number 2. And then you look at the Texans, which is that one team that everyone wonders, what are they going to do? You could also talk about the Niners or the Jets, but I just don't see those things happening for Sam Bradford. If you look at it that way and you assume that the agents knew exactly what was going to happen on March 9th, it probably looks like a really good deal for them. There's no coincidence either that this happened 5 minutes after the franchise tag deadline, because clearly Howie was negotiating with the tag in his back pocket. And if we couldn't get a deal done, maybe he would have tagged him. As it stands now, he's making $2 million more than the tag if he's cut. In other words, $18 million and then $4 million guaranteed next year. So if you assume the worst, that Bradford's out of here after a year, he walks away with $22 million, $2 million more than the tag, and he's a free agent. That's a pretty good deal for things not working out for Bradford.
It is, and the Eagles, on the other hand, get a guy for 2 years, I guess. So that's where they felt comfortable to say, if we draft a guy this year, and Andrew, you can give your opinion on whether you think this makes sense now. Bradford for 2, they could draft a guy. It's not a class that has a great quarterback, so that guy can maybe sit for 2. It almost seems like the Eagles win with that 2 years, that was something that maybe they were insistent on.
Yeah, it all depends, of course. I mean, this is the obvious answer, how he plays. I mean, if he plays at a very high level, they've got a guy for $18 a year, which is under kind of the, the top-level deals, which are $20 and above. If he plays poorly, they get out after 1 year with $4 million remaining. The tougher thing, I guess, if he plays kind of middling. Do they continue at $18 million a year? I think what this does draft-wise, though, the key is that we're not going to see someone in the first round. I mean, you just don't do that after you commit this kind of money. So instead of, without Bradford, taking a guy very high, I think you take a guy down the line. I don't know if that means 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round, whatever it is, and develop him over the year or two.
Andrew Brandt with us, at Andrew Brandt on Twitter. How much is Doug Peterson, who was kind of an unknown, hired as the coach, and then the Kelly mess, how much is this deal done, do you think? The Eagles want to remain relative, and they don't want Peterson to fall on his face, so they had to get him a capable quarterback.
Well, I think anyone listening knows that if you have Sam Bradford versus any rookie, you're looking at a better year. So do the Eagles fans really have wanted to go through this with a rookie and get, no matter how good he is, you're going to struggle next year. So it's going to be who knows, 3-13, 4-12, 5-11 year, or Sam Bradford, and anyone can speculate what the record will be with him. So I think from that point of view, this is not like other markets where you can develop a rookie and go through that horrible record. So I think that's the thing. The other thing, I've mentioned this many times over the past year. It was a year ago. They made a trade. I think skilled people in the business know when you make a trade for a big-time player, you get that guy under contract. He had 1 year left at $13 million, and I just thought the Eagles should have right then and there gotten a year or two more because they had the leverage. Bradford's options were stay in St. Louis for a pay cut, go to Cleveland, or come to quarterback-friendly Philadelphia, and they could have made a deal then. And then, of course, they tried later, and that wasn't going to happen, and Bradford made a lot of money just by not doing a deal last year. And that's something I'm sure they wish they had back.
Well, he's made a lot of money for a guy who's never been in the playoffs before. I know he got that deal. He was the last of the bonus, the big guys. But, boy, over $114 million for a guy who's got 25 wins, no playoffs, a lot of injury. I know, Andrew, you've been in front offices. You've worked on deals. Is this a deal that if you're sitting in the front office right now, you feel like, hey, I got what I wanted?
Yeah, I think you brought it up. The key to the Eagles is the second year because both ways. If he's really good, you got him. $18 million, you can live with that if he's really good. If he's really bad, you can get out. You got $4 million. I don't know if that's an offset guarantee, meaning if he signs somewhere else, they get relief on that $4 million. I can find that out at some point. But, I think the tough decision is if he has a year like he just had. So what do you do? Do you keep him at $18 million or do you not? And I think that's going to be a tough decision, all depending on how whatever the second quarterback is, if he's young, how he's developing.
You've worked with Howie, and he's back in charge, I guess. He doesn't have the official GM title, but he's doing all the jobs. How has he done? Most people, I think, were not Howie fans because they liked Chip, and Chip kind of just denounced Howie. And then so Howie coming back was almost like the air got taken out of the balloon. But do you have to educate them and say, look, guys, whether you like this guy or not, he's done a good job, or how do you think he's done this offseason, thrown back in the mix?
I think he's done well. He's played to his strengths, and his strengths, like my strengths when I was in Green Bay, are getting the team under control from a financial point of view, and then you move to the personnel side. What he's done is he's gone to key core players and got them locked up, and I think that's what any team has to do. You don't let Zach Ertz get to free agency. You don't let Lane Johnson get to free agency. He didn't want to let Vinnie Curry get to free agency. So those deals were done in discounts compared to what they could get if they played it out. And then he went to an older guy, which teams usually don't do. But the Malcolm Jenkins deal really showed me that guy is a must-have guy. In terms of leadership. True must-have player like that. They didn't want even sniffing free agency. That was a move from a pure football point of view. You question because of age, but then you realize what that guy means to the team. So now we got to see if they fill in with free agency, how they do it, how strapped the deals they're going to do are. Again, a lot of this team's success comes down to the guy they just signed and how he's going to do, Bradford. But we all know he played well. He had some issues with receivers. We'll see if they address that position.
No doubt about it. Andrew Brandt, at Andrew Brandt on Twitter, has the details on that Bradford deal if you want to look down at the money and stuff and see how it really breaks out. So the Eagles can kind of, if in year one they don't like him, they don't feel comfortable, they can cut him and not have a horrible situation.
Well, there's going to be a cap hit. It's going to be the 5.5 is the prorated bonus. So you have an $11 million bonus, 5.5 a year. They move away next year. They have 5.5 on the cap, and they have the $4 million on the cap. So they could potentially be counting 9.5 for Bradford. Now, a bigger number will go away, but it's never nice to have 9.5 on your cap for a guy that's not playing. So, yeah, this is not an easy deal to walk away from. But I know people are always like, yeah, but we can get out if he's no good. Well, you can, but you always leave behind a trail.
For 1 year. For 1 year for Bradford. We'll see. I think it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out because he might be right back in the same situation next year where he's trying to get extended again, and he might get himself another big contract if he plays well.
This guy, I'll tell you, he is a winner in the business of football. There's not many of them out there. There really aren't. I was in this business from both sides for 25 years. There's very few players, maybe a Larry Fitzgerald, a Calvin Johnson, a Sam Bradford, and Ndamukong Suh, that you say, man, they have tilted the field for them. I mean, they have won the business of football, and there's a pattern of what I just mentioned. Usually guys that were in the top 5 picks in the old draft format, those are the guys that get over on teams.
Andrew Brandt, at Andrew Brandt on Twitter. Check it out for the number breakdown. Good stuff, Andrew. We appreciate it.
All right, talk to you soon.